You pretend and masquerade to be. And
No,
that's
I
what
don't.
we're sick of.
No, I don't.
Yes.
I don't pretend to masquerade
In fact,
shit.
Black Americans receive 25% of the welfare. That 1/3 of them go to prison. Isn't that reparations? They're getting stuff paid.
How is prison reparations?
Well,
What the fuck
let's
did you
see.
just say?
A prisoner,
Say that again?
a prisoner on average is $80,000 a year to the taxpayer. Sounds like reparations to me. 3 years, that's over $250K.
So locking up black people is a form of reparations. You really gonna say that shit on a national platform with 12 million?
No, what I'm
subscribers? Are
saying
you
is
fucking
1 in
insane?
3.
Yo, he just said that on a national platform. He said that reparations is sending black people to jail. There you go, folks. I told y'all.
Many people are angry in this country, in particular a lot of whites, because they say the Black Lives Matter movement has released a manifesto of the list of demands of what they want and what they believe. And in that list of demands of what they want, they list reparations, they list educational reform, healthcare reform. Those things, to me, are great things. And I think it's wonderful that they put something in writing to put before the world of what they really want and what's in the best interest of this nation in regards to black people.
In my neighborhood, I have heard white people express fury over Black Lives Matter signs in our neighbors' yards. You're a clinical psychologist. How would you address that? What could one say to them?
Right. So
they want to know why the signs don't say White Lives Matter.
So my approach would be to ask and to engage in conversation. So my approach is often not to come in and lecture, right, but to ask, okay, so what is so upsetting? So if it's that they want the signs to say White Lives Matter, I mean, my response honestly would be there are lots of ways in our country and in our history that we've shown that white lives matter. And so to say Black Lives Matter does not mean that white lives don't matter. These are not mutually exclusive. It means that there are ways in which, through present day and in our history, that we have shown that black lives maybe don't matter. And so the cry to say Black Lives Matter is not to minimize or to demean other lives. It's to assert the fact that black lives should be respected and that typically and consistently they're not. Because we don't talk about race in our society, you know, they might not even be at a place to be able to have that conversation, or they might not have ever been able to ask that question of someone who might be able to answer it. Oftentimes we ask those questions in our own circles. It's almost rhetorical, right? To say, well, why doesn't it say this? Yeah, that's right. It should say white lives, all lives matter, right? And so I think it's really important for us to be willing to trust each other enough to have conversations rather than have shouting matches or to shut down or to not touch certain content. And that requires us to find spaces where we can do that.
To be open, ask questions, and talk.
What does that mean to you, Black History Month?
It means that that's racism because they don't celebrate White History Month. We don't have it. I'm part Italian. I don't have Italian History Month. So what I think it's doing is perpetuating what this divide is in our nation, quite honestly, because I don't feel like that should be highlighted. I don't think that they should be pushing their agenda on myself because I'm a straight male, I have a wife, and I have children. I don't think that I should have to be bombarded and brainwashed through media, through those months or Pride, Black History. I don't think that's something that should be, dictated to me.
Is it a learning opportunity?
Not at all, because when I was in school, we learned, certain black leaders, things like that. I don't need to hear it every single year for a whole month.
Should black people get reparations?
I believe they should.
So I, white man, have to play for black people. Why?
Wow, that's a really selfish thing you just said.
Hold on. Why should I have...
That's a really non-empathetic thing to say.
Why should I have empathy for a race? I have white guilt because I breathe? Why should the white students here have to work harder to pay for black kids? What is that all about?
Not every black person has lineage connected to slaves.
That's
true.
true.
Every white person doesn't have lineage connected to slaves.
Yes, that's right. So since every black person doesn't have a lineage connected to slaves, why should we generalize and say reparations for black people?
Because there are people that are in a worse place.
So over 150 years, they didn't have any ability to make better decisions, to save money, and to invest. How about you take responsibility for your own actions instead of blaming the white man?
Sometimes the clearest proof of racism is not even racism itself as we know it, but it is the reaction people have, especially when black people simply attempt to ask for fairness. Because the moment Black people speak about injustice or oppression, suddenly they are called names: lazy, dangerous, angry, divisive, ungrateful. And that raises a serious question, though. Why does the demand for fairness, why does the demand for equality make some people feel threatened? Why exactly? They're just demanding for basic human dignity, but a few people feel threatened by that. Because maybe the problem was never the message, but actually maybe the problem is the system that kind of message will expose. Now let's get deeper into this, and I'll be back with some more good commentary.
Many in this nation are asking, what should Black Lives Matter do? And in which direction should they go? The shooter in Dallas, Michael Johnson, is reported that he was angry with Black Lives Matter. And I understand why he probably felt that way, because he was of a real radical extreme mindset. And he's wondering why they are not at that same mindset that he
You're
is,
not giving this
and
guy,
really should not be.
You're not forgiving this guy, are you?
That's not what I'm doing. But also what I am doing, I understand the conditions in America that produced a mindset like that. Injustice on a consistent basis breeds insanity. And that's what's happening in America with Black people.
You know what's happening? Cornell, I want to talk to you about this last week. This young 10-year-old, very intelligent-looking young lady, a Black young lady at a Pearland school who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that Black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. She is not willing to support the Black Americans that have fought and died for this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly, but you know what I think? I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives: white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them?
Matt, she comes from a family of military service members. Her father is a retired military service member also, who served this nation well with great dignity. She also has additional family members who was in the armed forces.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman who has had long conversations, as well as her father, about her not standing for the flag. Many people are angry in this country, in particular a lot of whites, because they say the Black Lives Matter movement has released a manifesto of the list of demands of what they want and what they believe. And in that list of demands of what they want, they list reparations, they list educational reform, healthcare reform. Those things, to me, are great things. And I think it's wonderful that they put something in writing to put before the world of what they really want and what's in the best interest of this nation in regards to Black people. But why are they angry about reparations, Ms. Box? Why would whites have a problem with reparations going to Black people when they paid them to the Japanese Americans who were put in internment camps during the war with Japan? They paid it to the Indian brothers and sisters who they gave casinos on their reservations. They even helped the Jewish people get it from Nazi Germany and what happened to them in the Holocaust. So if you helped everybody else, you got a problem with helping those you kept enslaved for over 300 and something years in this nation, Black people?
Okay, so take it down a notch. So in 2008, Congress actually passed a resolution that apologized for slavery. Blanket apology. But race hustlers, like in the Black Lives Matter movement, like Jesse, like Al, like ex-Barack Obama, the ultimate race hustler, they don't want things to change. They like the angst. They like things being ginned up. In the past 7.5 years, race relations have dramatically gotten worse in this country because of this leadership. And the bottom line is Black Lives Matter, DeRay McKeeson with his stay woke, looking like he's Jesus Christ being crucified. Give me a break. They are getting rich off the backs of leftists and off the backs of the Black community.
Ms. Box, let me say this to you. We as Black people don't need an apology in this nation. What we need is what was promised to us. They promised us after slavery 40 acres and a mule. We never got it.
That's actually not true.
No, we were promised that.
And
you know, hold on, one second.
After Lincoln pretty much destroyed that.
But we were promised that, and we never got it. So that promise went unfulfilled to this very day. You cannot do that for others in the form of reparations and ignore the sacrifice and the suffering that black people made in this nation to make America what it is and say that we don't deserve it. That is racism.
Okay, listen to me very carefully. After the Civil War, President Jackson was the one that basically poo-pooed everything.
And he was a damn slave owner.
And he was a Democrat.
And Jackson was a slave owner.
So I didn't talk over you, don't talk over me. What the Democrat Party has done is re-enslave the black community. All those things that Black Lives Matter are about, except reparations, which is absolute ridiculousness, it's not going to happen. Education, healthcare, housing, all these things.
Ms. Box,
these are all urban problems that are in the hands of Democrats.
Slavery never ended in America.
That is, okay.
It never ended. Let me say this. Physical bondage ended, but political slavery, financial slavery, educational slavery, healthcare slavery, all of that never ended to this day in America for black people.
When are race hustlers going to stop and say, okay, we're not in chains anymore. America welcomes us. This is a land of opportunity.
We will, with the same day you all write that check to black people called reparations for what we deserve.
You mean
you wrote it to others, you sure as hell should write it to us.
All reparations is redistribution of wealth, another liberal scheme.
But you're only redistributing what you stole.
Okay.
So what's wrong with sharing and giving back for what you stole?
You know what? I want you to talk to black people who have successfully gotten out of the bondage, as you call it, and you call them slaves, Cornell.
A few select Negroes does not represent the suffering masses who are still there.
They're all Uncle Toms. No, Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. They continue to prove it.
And they've killed nobody. That's crazy as hell.
Their rhetoric has.
You know, many in this nation are asking, what should Black Lives Matter do? And in which direction should they go? The shooter in Dallas, Michael Johnson, is reported that he was angry with Black Lives Matter. And I understand why he probably felt that way. Because he was of a real radical extreme mindset. And he's wondering why they are not at that same mindset that he
You're not giving this
and
guy,
really should not be.
You're not forgiving this guy, are you?
That's not what I'm doing. But also what I am doing, I understand the conditions in America that produced a mindset like that. Injustice on a consistent basis breeds insanity. And that's what's happening in America with black people.
You know what's happening?
Shootings.
You know what's happening, Quanell? There are black and white people that would like nothing more than for us to stay fighting because they somehow achieve a bit more money or a bit more prosperity or a level that they like. But they've got to make sure that white people and black people or any race are fighting each other and they're all jazzed up over something. Those people succeed. And that ain't me, and I certainly hope it isn't you either, Quanell, although I'm not so sure.
This nation, Matt, is at a crossroads. If we want to prevent another Michael Johnson, and I sit here with you for 6 years, and I warned you right from this seat that a Michael Johnson would be produced in America if injustice and police killings were not held accountable, these cops. And I'm warning you right now, brother. I'm telling you can take it or let it alone, and you don't have to listen, and this audience doesn't have to listen. But if they don't change, the next move, terrorist organizations from outside of America are going to try to connect with black people who are angry, disgruntled, and frustrated and use them as an inside sale to strike America. That's what's coming.
His first stop was to an organization like yours and, you know, the new Black Panthers. He thought maybe that would be the place to go. Can you imagine that in this guy's mind, he looked at you as someone that he could use to go after people like me?
I put the brother out.
I know you did.
Because I had no choice but to do so for the safety and security of the other members because of the brother's rhetoric. But at the end of the day, I understand what has produced that kind of mindset in many young black men. Don't you dare think.
That's a dangerous thing for you to say, Quanell.
Don't you dare think that Michael Johnson was the only one thinking like that in America. He is not. There are other black people in America across this country who think just like that,
brother. Let me tell you something, Quanell. There's all different races and breeds of people that unfortunately are thinking that way because there's a fire lit under them by individuals that are smiling from ear to ear, hoping something like that does happen. I'll tell you who wants to see it is Hillary Clinton.
Man, ask yourself the question. If black cops were in white neighborhoods executing young white boys like they do black men, and they were never held accountable, what would you white people do?
Let me tell you something.
You would go to war. You would go to war.
44% more police officers just now in 2016 have been killed trying to do their job than all of last year.
But Matt, we have been fighting police brutality really publicly since the 50s.
You don't shoot them. You don't shoot them,
Nothing has changed.
You don't shoot them.
I agree with that. And they should not be killed or targeted. But Matt, that 1% that they say is bad among them, that 99% better get off their ass and tell the truth and get rid of the 1% that's doing these things.
Well, you do the same thing.
Matt, we have been trying.
Let
me tell you something. If these racists on these police departments don't get off their ass and deal with the bad element, I'm telling you, there's going to be more Dallases in America.
Then you and I get together and we'll stand up and we'll help them get them off their ass. Let's do that.
I have no problem with that. But the chief and district attorneys got to be held accountable to hold everybody to the same standard when they commit a crime, cops and citizens.
So, Cornell, I want to talk to you about this last week. This young 10-year-old, very intelligent-looking young lady, a black young lady at a Pearland school who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. She is not willing to support the black Americans that have fought and died for this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly, but you know what I think? I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives, white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them?
Matt, she comes from a family of military service members. Her father is a retired military service member also who served this nation well with great dignity. She also has additional family members who was in the armed forces.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman who has had long conversations as well as her father about her not standing for the flag. What white people need to understand is
Just
that,
white people?
Yes, please. Let me explain. What white people need to understand is that that national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key, a slave owner.
Oh, here we go.
Who demonized and hated black slaves and black people. And that unwritten third, that unheard of and unspoken third verse, go research the third verse where he says, there's no refuge in this country for the hireling or the slave. Both should be turmoil to the grave.
How's her parents doing?
This is a man
Are they successful?
that promised turmoil for black people to the grave. Would you ask Jewish children to say a
successful.
pledge to a German anthem that disrespects Jewish people?
If they're
No, you
living
would
in
not.
Germany,
No,
sure.
you would not.
Well, sure.
That disrespects Jewish people?
Then
No,
why,
you would not.
You certainly can kneel down. In America, you have the right to do that. But what will happen to her, how her friends will respond, how the school will view her, how Americans will view her is very negative. This is not what you want for your 10-year-old child.
And let me say to that young girl and others like that young girl, America looked at the same way at Rosa Parks when she refused to get up and give up her seat to a white man on the bus. But history vindicated her. History vindicated her. America demonized Harriet Tubman for freeing slaves from slavery, but history vindicated her. So I say to that young girl, you stand strong, stand up, and stand for what you believe in. And to all of those who are too coward to do it, don't get in that young girl's way and others like her. Support that young girl.
What would you like her to say to the men and women who have fought for this country like I ran into over the weekend? The black men and women who fought for this country and some who gave their lives.
And ask the black men and women who served America in its military, like in the Independence War. We helped America get it, and we were still slaves afterwards. Ask those in Vietnam who gave their war on Vietnam battlefields, but then came back and was called niggers in their own country. We have fought in America's war, and we've never been given the justice and the due process of everybody else in this nation.
Then why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here if you don't like it?
Let me tell you why. Because the country belongs to Indians. You white folks stole it from them, raped and robbed their people. This is not your country. You all came over here and stole it and beat the hell out of them. So this is not your country.
It was my country.
You all need to go home.
If you're
you
not
all need to go back where you came from.
If you don't like it, why don't you pack up and go?
Let the Indians decide who should pack up and go, and I guarantee you black folks will stay, and you all will be on the first damn boat leaving here. So don't try that, brother. You all didn't make America. This is not your country.
But you should do is sit down with someone who has fought for this country, Cornell, get their opinion too.
Tons of black people have, and what have we gotten from it?
Now, here is that truth that people keep dancing around. Here, there are generally two types of people who keep racist systems alive. The first group knows exactly what they are doing. They benefit from inequality economically, politically, socially, and we can also say institutionally. So they keep protecting the system because that system protects them in all of the senses we've said. It protects them in a political sense, in economics, they have an institutional advantage. But then there is a second group who also keep racism alive. And the second group is also way more dangerous in many different ways. And this is the manipulated group. Now, these are the people trained to believe that anytime oppressed people, say, for example, black people, ask for fairness, it means somebody else, and that is usually them, is losing something. They're taught to believe by the first group that giving fairness, giving justice to black people in America, for example, it means they will be losing. And they don't, out of ignorance, they don't question that. They just take it. That's why when people hear, for example, Black Lives Matter, they immediately respond with fear, with anger, and most cases defensively, with some defensiveness, as if Black lives, as if, for example, black people are demanding any kind of superiority, instead of seeing it for what it is, that Black Lives Matter as a movement is just, it's just a movement that is seeking humanity, dignity, fairness, and justice. But Black Lives Matter is never trying to say that nobody else's life matters. It has never been the case, And when we say Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean other lives don't matter. This is actually a cry for attention towards the people who we know have been consistently ignored, brutalized, and underprotected, economically sidelined, and that and so on. And that's exactly what BLM as a movement is supposed to stand. It doesn't mean getting anybody else to get to be oppressed or something like that. But racist conditioning has taught people to see equality as oppression. And I say an overly privileged people often interpret equality as oppression to them because they are used to that. And that's a psychological trap. When people become too comfortable with privilege, fairness to them begins to feel like persecution. So every conversation around things like reparations, justice, policing, systemic inequality becomes twisted into a thinking or an ideology that black people are trying to take something from us, while that's not the case. It's trying to create a level playing field for everybody. Black people are not trying to enslave anybody, neither are black people trying to colonize anybody. They are not even trying to dominate anybody. Black people are simply saying, stop doing to us what history has already done to us for centuries, And that is, we know, redlining, slavery, colonization in other parts of the world, embezzlement of resources, Jim Crow. There are so many, And that's also something else to take note of is projection. And let me explain something about projection. Some people are terrified of justice because deep down they think that others will treat them the same way they treated others, like once the power shift. you know. But most oppressed people are actually not even after revenge. They're not even asking for a chance to revenge. They're only asking for dignity, safety, opportunity, and a fair playing field for everybody. And to be honest, America struggles to confront, this contradiction very, very much, because this country has rebuilt overseas. Talk about Japan, talk about funding Israel to debt, talk about Germany, it has funded recoveries abroad. It has compensated other peoples and other groups throughout history, while the very people in the country whose labor, whose energy, whose blood helped to build America from the ground up are constantly told they deserve nothing in return, really. They are not acknowledgement, not any kind of repair, not even understanding, neither anything to do with reparations. If anything, is trying to shove that kind of discussion to the side and saying that, it doesn't matter. Then society turns around, ironically, shocked by black anger, black frustration, and the distrust that grows from that. But that frustration, to be honest, did not just appear from nowhere, in the sky. History has built it. These systems, like racism, have fed it. And today, the denial to accept what black people have gone through, to accept and acknowledge that they deserve something from this country that they have built through thin and thick, that same denial keeps feeding the monster currently. Because, racism is not only about slurs and hatred, actually. Sometimes racism is actually refusing to understand somebody's pain while you continue to benefit from the same system that is causing that pain. Yeah, so that's my take on it. Let me know what you think about it. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, if you love this, subscribe to be part of us. And I'll see you in the next video.